was fancy-free. Now that we're old, youth is but a dream. We'd walk through the park, lovers hand in hand, to the music, John Philip Sousa's band. I dared to kiss you and swore my love was true. I said I'd never, ever make you blue. Time shows no mercy and puts wrinkles on our skin, a constant reminder of things that might have been. When we were young, life was fancy-free. Now that we're old, youth is but a dream.
William, there's a man named Benjamin Ruff here to see you. He said that you're expecting him.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, my dear. I'd completely forgotten about our meeting. Please, by all means, have him shown out to the garden.
Yes, I'll send him out.
Oh, Clara?
Yes?
Is the butler not in service today?
Well, I gave him the rest of the day off. He seemed ill, and I can handle any duties that may arise.
I suppose you're right.
Remember, dear, we didn't always have the means to hire a butler, a maid, a gardener, and a cook.
William, how nice of you to see me. I know you won't be disappointed when you hear what I have to say. I can assure you of that.
So what's this all about?
It's the South Fork Dam. It was built in the 1850s to supply water for the mainline canal system.
I do not want to invest in canals. Travel by rail is the fastest and most profitable. Have you gone mad?
No, mad. Perhaps you may judge me such after you hear what I have to say, but I don't think so.
What is this all about?
I call it the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club. Why, as we speak, my men are repairing the dam, they're stocking the lake with fish, they're building this grand clubhouse with cottages for wealthy gentlemen as a retreat in the summer, for gentlemen like you and I.
You suppose there would be an interest in such a place?
Why, have you taken a breath of fresh air lately? Why, the steel mills have ruined the air we breathe, and they block out the healthy rays.
I have to agree with you there.
Daddy, I think my dolly's sick. Can you kiss her and make her feel better?
See, your daughter's doll is ill from this horrible air.
Alice, would you like to go away for the summer to a place where you can swim and sail on a crystal clear lake and breathe fresh air?
Oh, could I, Daddy? It would be so wonderful.
Well, maybe, dear. I have to hear more from Mr. Ruff. You go along and play now. Be a good little girl.
See, your daughter's convinced.
Who else is interested in this venture?
Well, we have Henry Clay Frick, Andrew Carnegie, Andrew Mellon, oh, and Durbin Horn, just to mention a few.
I suppose you will need startup money for this venture?
Can I count on you?
You have my full support.
Excellent, excellent. You'll be hearing from me.
William, wonderful news. Our son Charles is home from college.
Father, it's great to be home. I can't wait till summer vacation.
That is wonderful news. And now I have even more exciting news for all of you.
We always knew it as the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club. It was founded in 1879 by a gentleman named Benjamin Ruff. The charter stated that it was formed for the protection and propagation of game and game fish. It was to become a fashionable resort and private haven for the rich. The club was situated in the mountains of southwestern Pennsylvania, miles above the smoke and soot of the city of Johnstown. Some of the wealthiest men in the world were members. Henry Clay Frick, Andrew Carnegie, and Andrew Mellon were among the group of Pittsburghers that purchased stock in the club. The club itself was built around a battered, broken-down dam we were told was once part of a canal system called the Main Line. We heard the dam had many names: Old Reservoir, 3 Mile Dam, Western Reservoir. But the most popular was what the locals called it, the South Fork Dam. It had once been the largest earthen dam in the world, covering 424 acres. Once railroads became the way to travel, there was no need for the canal or the reservoir. When Mr. Ruff purchased it, he repaired it, filled it, and gave it the more proper name, Lake Conemaugh. All the members arrived by train and took carriages from the station in South Fork to the clubhouse. The 3-story wooden clubhouse contained 47 furnished bedrooms, eating facilities for 150 persons, a gaming room, and social hall. It clearly dominated the magnificent scene along the shoreline. Nestled all around it were 16 cottages with long windows, high-pitched roofs, wrap-around porches painted in the most vivid colors of the day, and each boasting between 10 and 13 rooms. We weren't wealthy enough to build a cottage of our own, so we stayed at the clubhouse. According to the clubhouse rules, a member was entitled to 2 weeks' stay with the option of a longer stay, if no other members had arranged for rooms. During our visit, we enjoyed such activities as hunting, swimming, and boating. By far, however, the most popular activity at the lake was fishing. In order to get the lake ready for fishing, the club purchased 1,000 black bass from Lake Erie. I once read Dr. James A. Henshaw, author, angler, and fishing pioneer, say of the powerful fish that, ounce for ounce and pound for pound, it was the gamest fish that swims. The activity of stocking the lake seemed to be of great interest to the local residents as well. An article entitled Bass for the Reservoir appeared in the Johnstown Daily Tribune and read,
1,000 black bass brought from Lake Erie were dumped in the old reservoir near South Fork yesterday by Colonel E. Unger and a party of other gentlemen, all belonging to the Western Game and Fish Association. A palace car was chartered for the accommodation of the fish, which were transported in iron tanks, to which were attached air pumps for supplying oxygen. The cost of the fish when safely in the dam was estimated at $750. Only 3 fish died, one of which was a huge old chap, weighing over 3 pounds.
Although the lake itself was stocked with black bass, it was the feeder streams that attracted many of the male club members. Trout was indigenous to the area and prospered in the faster, colder waters of the smaller streams. Many a day was spent by men equipped with fishing creels, hip waders, and long bamboo poles, wading through the clear waters in search of their prey. Lines were made from woven braids of horsehair. I was told this was primarily because of its natural taper, surprising strength, and low visibility. Only club members and their guests had access to fishing in the streams located on the club's land, and privacy was strictly enforced. I often heard stories of local fishermen caught fishing in the club's waters. I assumed they were after the large trout known to flourish there. My husband particularly enjoyed shotgunning. All the wealthy Pittsburgh millionaires who visited the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club carried among their luggage beautiful shotguns in oak and leather cases lined with fine, dark red billiard cloth. The most prized guns were made in England, equipped with Damascus barrels, carved oak stocks, and finely engraved lock plates. My husband owned several guns. Among his collection was a Parker, a Wesley Richards, and a Purdy. We once heard that Andrew Carnegie's favorite was a Holland and Holland. I often accompanied my husband and the other men as they donned their black derbies and black suits to participate in one of the summer's many shooting competitions. Now, I don't know much about guns, but my husband preferred the 10-gauge, even though some of the other gentlemen preferred the 8-gauge for wildfowl shooting. Lake Conemaugh was home to thousands of ducks and geese, and this provided an excellent opportunity for the members to practice their hunting skills. I could never understand this sport, but I did know that there was an unwritten code among the sportsmen which dictated that he was a gentleman above all else. All birds were shot on the wing, and only the smallest and most delicate birds were taken for game. For sportsmen like my husband, hunting was an exercise in good taste. Author and sportsman Robert Roosevelt once said, "It is his pride to kill what he does elegantly, scientifically, and mercifully." From time to time, outsiders were invited to Lake Conemaugh to compete in one of the many shooting derbies. On June 4, 1884, a reporter from the Johnstown Daily Tribune sent to cover the event wrote,
Lunch was served to 70 persons about 2 o'clock. Afterward, there was a shooting match in which 17 crack shots participated. 350 birds had been provided, and about 240 were killed. The match for a silver cup was won by a man named Carpenter, who shot at 20 birds and killed 19. A man named Crawford killed 18 out of 20. Several others killed 11 and 12. In the handicap match, in which clay pigeons were used, D.C. Hostetter shot at 10 and broke them all. Today there was to be a glass ball contest for a silver medal.
Thomas, could you bring me one of those fine Cuban cigars I had you packed for this occasion?
Yes, sir. And would you like some brandy?
Yes, Thomas. That would be nice.
I see that John L. Sullivan has become the first heavyweight champion.
Good for him. No one could ever dare to beat him.
They've also founded a new university out in California. They're calling it Stanford. Father, have you read this article in the Johnstown Daily Tribune about our club becoming a public summer resort?
No, I have not. I do not believe it is the intention of the club ever to be open for local public membership. I certainly would have never joined this club in the first place if I were aware of such a proclamation. Is that the current issue?
It's Mondays, August 10th, 1885.
Charles, read the article to me, please.
It is understood that the movement is on foot among the members of the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club, who owns the old reservoir and grounds attached 2 miles up the mountain from the village of South Fork, to make the place a public summer resort. It is now confined to the members of the club, who are mostly wealthy residents of Pittsburgh.
And that's the way it will stay. I have nothing against the local common folk, but they are just that, common. I personally did not join this club to intermingle with local riffraff.
Before we get all upset over nothing, do you think there's any truth to this article?
I don't believe the article to be true. Who would make such a declaration to bring in locals as members? It certainly was not the intention of Benjamin Ruff, the founder of this club.
I agree. It was Mr. Ruff who first approached me to support his venture and to become a member.
It's only wishful thinking to bring in locals as members. Who would think that anyone other than people with wealth and standing, like ourselves, could ever step foot upon the grounds of the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club?
But John, there are many commoners already on the grounds of this club.
Yes, there are cooks and maids and boat boys and stable hands and others who are paid to serve us, just like Thomas here.
Thomas, would you like to become a member of the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club? Let us say if the opportunity would arise.
Sir, I do not have the time nor the money to join a fancy club like this. I think what you have read in the paper is nonsense. Will that be all, sir?
Yes, Thomas, that will be all.
William, Charles, let's head down to Lake Conemaugh before the locals join and kill all the duck and geese and take out all the fish, the black bass and trout.
I don't think we need to lose any sleep over that.
While fishing and hunting were the passions of the male members and the purpose of the club, I vividly remember the sailing. There were 2 large steam yachts, 4 sailing boats, and 50 canoes and rowboats at the lake. However, the most unusual craft was an electric catamaran with a searchlight mounted up front. This most peculiar boat was built by Lewis Clark, one of the club's younger members, who was also an award-winning photographer. Mr. Clark was always seen taking photographs around the lake and clubhouse. I personally have not seen any of these photographs, but I am sure they are of excellent quality and will capture the splendor of the club for all time.
Sailboats on the mountain, hundreds of miles from sea, sailing on a mountain top in fairy tales and dreams. Sailboats on the mountain, hundreds of miles from sea, sailing on a mountain top in fairy tales and dreams. Hoist that sail, my laddies, watch the breeze among the trees. We're plotting out a brand new course in make-believe and dreams. With the sun coming up on our starboard side and the dances across the cloudless sky, we're just not sure what the day might bring and the winds beneath our feet. Sailboats on the mountain, hundreds of miles from sea, sailing on a mountain top in fairy tales and dreams. Sailboats on the mountain, hundreds of miles from sea, sailing on a mountain top in fairy tales and dreams. With the ships cutting through the waters deep and the sun is a-sinking low, with our flag up-flailing way up high, night is falling and we must go. So let's sail for home, my laddies, with wives and children have we. They're waiting for us at the dock's dark edge, not in fairy tales and dreams. Sailboats on the mountain, hundreds of miles from sea, sailing on a mountain top in fairy tales and dreams. Sailboats on the mountain, hundreds of miles from sea, sailing on a mountain top in fairy tales and dreams.
The event that I most looked forward to each year was the annual Regatta and Feast of Lanterns. The one I remember most took place August 22nd, 1885. I still have the program event. It listed all the activities involving canoes, single and double sculls, and tubs. Everyone competed, and this year in particular, I remember my youngest son won a medal for a canoe race. Not everything at the club was hunting and fishing. Warm summer days provided perfect occasions for refreshing swims in the crystal clear lake. I personally witnessed many young lovers and friends taking leisurely strolls around the lake, often concluding with a picnic at the spillway. Even I would dress in costume with other members and perform the works of Shakespeare, Sophocles, and many others in vignettes. Evenings presented the potential for a host of new activities. It was customary for the men to retire to the billiard room after dinner, while the women would gather in the parlor to catch up on gossip or plan the next day's events. If the evening was pleasant, as so many were, we would sit outdoors and chat while the men enjoyed their cigars at the far end of the clubhouse's massive porch. On some evenings, concerts were held, and dance parties would continue until the wee morning hours.
Certainly is beautiful here at Lake Conemaugh. The temperature is so much cooler than Pittsburgh.
Yes, it is really pleasant here at the lake.
Alice, you've certainly grown since I've known you. It's been 9 years since your father first joined the club. You've blossomed into a fine young lady.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, you're quite lovely. Your parents must be proud.
Yes, we are. I must say, after that horrible winter, it's wonderful to be here.
Those poor people in New York City. I read 400 people perished in that awful blizzard.
Yes, it was quite tragic. Too tragic to speak of today. Let's not.
Yes, we're here to have an enjoyable time. Have any of you ladies read Little Lord Fauntleroy by Frances Burnett?
No, I haven't read it. What's the book about?
It's a wonderful story about a perfect gentleman.
I wish my son were a perfect gentleman. He's always getting dirty, climbing trees, and splashing about through the streams up here in the mountains.
You need to read this book. It will make you want to turn your son into a perfect little gentleman.
Alice, have you been introduced to any of the young gentlemen here at the club? That Lewis Clark seems to be a nice fellow. In fact, I usually see him around taking pictures. Perhaps he'll take yours.
Perhaps, if he wishes to be so bold.
Have any of you ladies read this morning's paper?
Not today, I haven't.
What was in it we should know about?
An interesting article about improvements to the South Fork Reservoir.
How nice it would be to have running water here at the clubhouse.
Why don't you read us the article, Martha?
Here it is. Improvements at South Fork Reservoir. The members of the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club have resolved to establish a system of drainage for the grounds. The idea is to pipe the entire property adjacent to the clubhouse and cottages and drain it over the embankment. The improvements will cost approximately $5,000.
The article didn't mention anything about running water.
No, it sounds as though they're just going to drain the grounds and then redirect the access into the lake.
I think there's already enough water in the lake. You know, some people are saying that the dam is unsafe.
What people?
The locals, the people downriver.
Well, why don't we ask Ann? She's a local resident. Ann. Ann, you're from South Fork, aren't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me, are you or any of your neighbors afraid of the dam breaking?
I don't think much about the dam. It broke years ago and no one was hurt. So I don't think it's going to break again.
Do your people resent us being here?
Not at all. It's good business for everyone. But we do envy you for what you have. Pretty clothes, nice homes, and time to relax and enjoy life.
Thank you, dear, for being honest with us. You may go back to your work.
It's true. Our lives are nice compared to Ann's.
Oh, did I tell you? My husband has hired John Singer Sargent to paint my portrait. He's simply the most well-known portrait painter. He's the talk of Europe.
Our time at the club was always distinguished by sports, serenity, and seclusion. Our family shared many summers with friends and guests and created for us some of our most treasured memories. This club truly succeeded in furnishing us with a pleasurable haven away from the dirt and drudgery of our lives in the city. We continued to spend summers at the club until 1889. It was on May 31st of that year that the South Fork Dam gave way during a terrible rainstorm and consumed the city of Johnstown. For us, the devastation and destruction was unbelievable. It was hard to imagine that beautiful mountain lake killing thousands. From that moment on, the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club ceased to be magnificent and became only a memory.
When we were young, life was fancy-free. Now that we're old, youth is but a dream. We'd walk through the park, lovers hand in hand, to the music, John Philip Sousa's band. I dared to kiss you and swore my love was true. I said I'd never, ever make you blue. Time shows no mercy and puts wrinkles on our skin, a constant reminder of things that might have been. When we were young, life was fancy-free. Now that we're old, youth is but a dream.